Hello and welcome to the AfterParty, Conversations with SpyParty players. This evening I'm joined by Catnip.
Hi there.
Hey there. um, I kind of put.
Should I introduce myself somehow differently? I don't know.
Well, do you have a manner in which you like to introduce yourself?
I'm known for being wise and I do silly things,
That is a
I
great
guess.
combination of characteristics.
Hmm.
Catnip in a nutshell. Um, yeah, I wanted to speak to you about your involvement, very generous involvement in the recent SpyParty Competitive League.
Mm.
Uh,
Um, yeah, what exactly about it? Where should I start?
um, well, I'll give a bit of a setup. So, Catnip basically volunteered, stepped into this much needed role of it's like not stepping on people's necks, but kind of like kicking players up the backside to keep them playing their
Poking
games.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, um, but but I think we kind of not undervalued it, but it's something that's worth going to and sort of talking about the importance of volunteer administrative roles in sporting and gaming communities.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that you don't see that input directly. And I think it's something that I experienced myself this season. Like last season, we all pretty much agreed and admitted and knew that Kaylee does a lot by being the main league manager. It's a lot of work, and he does a lot, and he puts a lot of time in it. And then when you actually start doing, you fully realize it how much there is to do, even if it's just small things. But yeah, so it was not just me to start with, it was me and Elvis, who before the season started thought or sort of volunteered and poked Kaylee himself that, hey, we're volunteering. And we started gathering info once again about just poking people. So when would the season start be convenient for you and such? And to be fully fair and give credit where credit is due, it was actually Pirish who started doing that first without official volunteering, because he did poke the players even before me and Elvis did, and then got a very good list of who was still in, who was not anymore. That helped us too a lot with that.
Yeah. So what like how would you break down what the sort of um important or necessary roles were in facilitating the league? Like, what were the sort of jobs that needed filling with Kaylee sort of having to step down?
So firstly, due to quite some time between the seasons in this case, it was just gathering up people that, hey, are you still interested or not? And if yes, then when would the season start be a good idea? When could you start playing? Are you available at that time or not? Like that. After that, once we had an approximate list, it was the actual placements. So either organizing the placement matches or votings. It was just only one person who was doing placements, and then he backed down afterwards, I think, overall. So it was that. Once, what else there was? Then it was poking Hummus to make his absolutely wonderful SEL manager.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, that's been pretty much the start of the season in SEL. Um, so
Um,
it was both. Mhm.
and then I guess that would have been the sort of like important setup uh requisites for the league, and then sort of through each weeks, it was you and Elvis sort of reminding people or prompting people, hey, you've got a match due, or hey, like these people haven't confirmed that they're playing. Can we please get confirmations? So it was nice just like seeing you guys sort of having these regular reminders for us. So even if like we individually weren't sort of like falling behind, it was good sort of having those reminders that, oh, it's like important for us
I
to
think
be prompt and keep on top of these things.
yeah, it was really hard. I was really trying to balance the sort of, because now it's pretty much officially on the organizing side, and I guess it's quite well known from last season, my personal opinion and point of view of people needing to be poked to play their matches and not playing their matches. So it was a bit of a challenge to balance out the message, that hey, you need to play, while still, being official and polite and not as aggressive as I personally would be about that during that. So yeah, I felt a bit weird posting on the forums. Like every time it was a sort of balancing act, and then paranoia, like, is this too passive aggressive or is this still okay?
Yeah, like I I I can imagine in that role like how I would sort of manage or find that middle path of like, okay, I need to be firm, but I don't want to like intimidate people. You like you want to press people enough to get them to be proactive, but you don't want to like scare them and then suddenly make the competitive league feel like some sort of like mafia thing where it's like
Yeah.
you're being like scared into playing a video game.
Yeah, not having ultimatums and not having them starting to hate you or the league, or then, well, if that's the way you're treating me, then I'm just not gonna do it. So it's like, I think it turned out okay for the most part, at least. So something.
Yeah, yeah. But it was interesting too, like the sort of people's individual lives getting in the way of their spy party game sort of brings up the interesting challenge for like any uh, organization community of navigating around various people's constraints, and especially since we deal with a lot of different time zones. Like it's not just a
Exactly,
North,
yeah.
it's not like just a North American league. It's see people from Australia and people from Lithuania and people from Britain.
Yeah, and of course, it has both good and bad sides, and the exciting ones, the positive ones, definitely outweigh the other ones. And I'm, at least personally, I'm very very happy to see more countries being involved in both SCL and just SpyParty. And once again, we even had flags with the players, so that was a fun little
That was so
reminder that,
cool.
yeah, it was a very sort of touching, heartwarming reminder that, hey, we are pretty much all over the world, and we are from a lot of places, ranging US to Australia to Singapore, and even across the Europe. Then it was just mostly like, UK, Portugal, and then Lithuania, Latvia, and then hey, it's Poland, and hey, I think Moriarty was not active this season, so. But yeah, basically more countries and things like that. So that
Yeah.
was very nice. And regarding time zones, yeah, at the same time, the strongest negative side is that it makes scheduling so much harder, and casting as well. Because this season, compared to the last one, we had very few live matches,
Ah.
and yeah, and it's something that sort of, I can't say that I'm disappointed, because it's not exactly their personal fault, but it's more like it sort of breaks my heart a tiny bit. But yeah, because overall it just became a bit more difficult to organize matches between each pairs for themselves. And so on top of thinking, can we play during the cast live, there's time zones involved on top of it. And US player playing someone from Singapore on a, let's say, European cast or on a US cast, like neither of that sounds convenient. And it's a
Hmm.
bit sad. And I remember there was a suggestion to perhaps make different leagues for sort of US and non-US parts. But
Yeah, and like I understood the motivation of that, but I really disliked that idea because I think uh, the the international community, there's something really powerful about that. And despite, as you say, the sort of difficult workarounds and challenges that raises, there's something really powerful about seeing that sheet where it's like you see the nation you're representing some like silly small way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you some like regional pride, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm representing this part of the world or whatever."
Or yeah, or even more excitement, like I will say, "Hey, I'm the best SpyParty player in Lithuania," and then I even joke that I'm the best SpyParty player in Baltics, and then Yaren comes on, and I'm like, "No, no, no, I don't want to lose that title. I have to win against them." Of course,
Yeah.
I did not, but hey, so there's that a bit, and yeah, like I think. Used a very good word, power. So for the SpyParty as a game and as a community and as a gaming community overall, it just brings so much power and so much sort of inner strength. This fact that we both mentioned is just going more and more global, including more people, and it's sort of it's a little bit that hey, this game is universal. I mean, we have variety, we have diversity within the game itself for the characters, and now we're starting to get even more diversity for the players, and not just in a sense that of which country you are from, but just overall what kind of person you are,
Mm.
and other personal or social labels and things like that. And I think it's good to know, just both for ourselves inside, that we are getting more diversity in their players, and thus we should not try to restrict ourselves too much and have these small categories, once again, small divisions, as even though they might add a bit more practicalities, more practical approach, and be better in that way. I think we should still more focus on that. Hey, this is us. This is the main tournament, and this is all of us together.
Mm. And I think that's an important thing for all of us to be mindful of in both appreciating the work that goes into administration and uh, pressing people to sort of keep to schedules. Um, so it like sort of fuels appreciation of that role, but also it should like incite all of us to take active responsibility in like managing that stuff ourselves as players and being responsible for being punctual and notifying that okay, like I'm not going to be free at this time, but me and my opponent are going to like make sure we like organize for the following week and still
Yeah.
keep within the bounds.
Yeah, because and let's see, even that sort of course, everyone understands that life happens, and
Yeah.
let's even me today, life happened, and I had to a little bit postpone and PMU and what have you. Uh, but it's still sort of if you have one unplayed match that you just play next week or even a week in advance because you won't be available, it's one thing, and it's just a bit different to have six unplayed ones or things like that. And aside from just simply organizational and order point of view, it really affects something that's simply entertainment for all the players and all the viewers, which is casting, and which was quite a frequent problem this season, especially in the second half. That okay, so we had two casts, USA and European. The ideal plan was always to have 4 games per cast, which means 8 matches, rather, 8 matches for the whole week. And then the casts happen on Saturday and Sunday. So we agreed that by Thursday evening, we should preferably have that schedule plan in advance with me and
Right.
Bodar. Bodar did a great job on mostly organizing that side of the SCL, by the way, as well. So kudos for him. But basically, yeah. So we agreed that by Thursday evening, I would pretty much have the list of matches. I look on Wednesday evening. Hey, it's only 3 matches played so far, and there's like 1 or 2 more scheduled for some time on Friday. So if I see that these players are, if I sort of trust them enough to actually play those matches, yeah, I can include that, and it's not that big of a deal. But then it's still it still became quite a headache for too much than I would have liked.
Yeah, and it like induces anxiety. It's like, like if these people cancel, then suddenly we don't like you then don't have a full cast worth of material, and then you feel like you're letting the audience down.
Yeah, and then it's so I guess I should look through the last week's matches once again, like to have a backup. Perhaps that was a good match, and it was a bit of a discussion whether it should be just current week's matches or then it's last week's match, but it was played this week, so it just became too much of a juggling act sometimes.
Yeah,
So I guess this is I don't know if I say that it's taken a little bit for granted. I probably would sound a bit saltier than I am, but it just sort of to put it in a more politically correct way, it's something that the players don't deal with directly, so perhaps they're not always fully aware of that, and thus it's easier to focus on other things instead.
yeah, and I was very much guilty of this myself, of not being mindful of punctuality, or sort of like if effectively notifying
Mm.
and checking like how soon I should like be having matches done. And so like I actually quite appreciate you being open about what it felt like for you, and that's something that for me is like a great motivation now for the like SEL4 to be more proactive and make sure that more effectively communicate with
Aww.
opponents and stuff. Like uh, and to sort of go to that point that people have lives and stuff gets in the way. For me, this season, and actually the last like 6 months to a year of like SpyParty has been kind of hard. I've like played very little of the game because I've been quite sort of like we've just come out of our winter, and I've been
Mm.
quite unwell, and so during this winter I like had a really bad chill and was like quite cold and fatigued, and so being on a computer was actually like really uncomfortable, and so I basically
Oh.
like didn't play any SpyParty at all except for my matches. And so I'm not like at all surprised that I like dropped a, a tier, but I like still tried to play on my matches, and I like
Mhm.
enjoyed the league for that. That okay, it was a like regular thing that was making me commit to playing, but at the same time, I was also mindful that it was uh, kind of a like uncomfortable experience to play at times. Like there was one match actually where I had such a like bad chill that like holding my body in a like fixed position to like operate the keyboard, I was actually getting
Oh my.
uh like cramps in my arm because there was that like pore of circulation. So like I
Oh gosh,
yeah I
that sounds, yeah, very terrible.
but I'm like feeling a lot better now, and it's like coming into spring, and so like
Okay.
I've actually kind of like sprung back into Spy Party and like feeling a lot more like healthy and happy playing the game. But that that was something I was mindful of, was like, oh
Mm.
man, like I can understand for people who are like fatigued, or like work hard jobs, or have anxiety maybe, that like there are like an infinite number of possible situations that can like make someone um uh not feel up to the task of like
Yeah,
playing in a timely fashion. And so I'm
not
like
as adamant at it.
um
And, yeah, something I guess to sort of a small tip for everyone listening for the next season. I mean, I probably sound quite strict and such regarding that organizational, but of course we all understand that life happens, health issues, physical, mental, emotional, everything. We're simply work, job, scheduling issues that appear. Yes, life of course still comes first. It's just the sort of thing. Then you talk about it. And I don't mean you have to vent out, just, approach the one that's responsible. Well, this season it was me, so let's say I will see that tell me in advance, and then I'll probably I can make an exception, or like at least I'll be aware that there's this one match, or there's this one person that will play later, or that cannot play right now. But if you see someone not playing, and especially if it's done constantly, and then suddenly you start poking them, and only then they say, well, like, oh, I had problems or what have you, then it still feels different. So basically, like, be, sort of a plea, be aware, and if you see that you cannot play, notify the relevant people about it, so that we can just adjust the plans and the schedules, mostly the plans and the setups that we have in our minds, because and it just be way more beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we all care about and love each other and want to, like no one wants, um, like no one in the community wants us to like hurt ourselves and uh, to do things, and like players have sort of come forward and forfeited positions or particular matches because they're like,
Yeah,
okay, this can't work, and that's totally cool. But it's just like best if you can, uh, either if you're comfortable saying it publicly in the forum that you can't make it, or speaking directly to one of the representatives, like Catnip or
exactly.
yeah. um, I didn't really have any extra material planned. Was there anything else about the league you wanted to chat about?
um Regarding organizational size, I don't know. I've just realized that I probably still came off as quite salty during this.
Oh no.
But I guess it's not that much of a surprise, knowing my personal posts and what have you. But it's just, it is a very hard job, and I myself am a bit to blame that, especially during the last 2 or so weeks of the league. I was pretty much, just too much unplayed games, and like I have my own life to plan. Like you said, you don't have jobs or whatever. Like I feel tired, I need either rest or I need to do other things. So I sort of need to adjust those plans, because these plans are even more uncertain. So it's sort of just you yourself realize how important that is, and sort of how one unplayed game can sort of a little bit snowball into something needed, to adjust something.
Yeah.
It just sort of basically, it has a bit more effect than just one unplayed match by itself. And it seems that exactly unplayed matches is a lot that we talk about, but the main thing. But
Yeah, but
I
it's
don't
because
know.
it's because it comes up a lot and sort of
Yeah,
yeah, like you say, sort of, one unplayed match sort of sets a precedent, and then it can snowball, and suddenly you like have 8 unplayed matches, and there's like no replays available for that week's cast.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's like you just mentioned, the precedent, sort of, and let's say someone sees, oh yeah, someone just, didn't play for half of a division, and he was given all the exceptions possible, and we waited for them to play their matches however long we needed and what have you, so I'll be okay not playing mine. And while, we might still say okay, because we're nice enough, and to wait and not to go on berserk and saying, hey, do this or you're out, or do this or this will be a forfeit, it just still creates this inconvenience. And then, if we can't organize things, then the players don't get updated, let's say, results. Players don't get the full knowledge of their own divisions and the places in them, and then it becomes, and both for the players and for the viewers, then, instead of, ooh, so he needs to, like, player A needs to win against player B, otherwise player B gets the first place in the division. This will be a very exciting match. Whereas that would be the case, but there are 3 or 4 unplayed matches before that, and then it just goes. So yeah, if A wins against B, but then C wins against D, and C wins against E, then it's okay. But then it's not. If it's not, then and you have like 2 full paragraphs of scenarios of what ifs. So that's bad both for players in terms of their them preparing for the matches. I mean, of course, some do more research, some do less, but why not? The research about the opponents, research about, what kind of time do I have to invest in this just one game? Because if I know this game will decide where I place in the division, I can just focus on one opponent. Whereas if it's just this one game, but then there are 3 or 4 others that I indirectly depend on, then I have to prepare for this one like triple much so that I would just smash it all over, smash it out of the
park,
stratosphere or whatever. Yeah, the idiom would be. So that I kick everyone's behinds, big time. And then and then for the viewers as well, because you're not really getting this hype that we all love to mention. You're not getting the full experience and the full implications. Like, oh my gosh, what will happen now? Because it doesn't matter what will happen now, because you don't know what that means.
Yeah, and no, that's a really good sort of like word to use. Hype. That's something that is sort of reliant on having firm sort of structure so that you understand the constraints and the situation. It's like, oh, I understand like what the situation is and what the stakes are, and so if there's like sort of kind of uncertainty and mushiness around whether that's even going to happen, that's kind of taken away. To kind of like pull it back, I feel like we're making this sound like and I like totally understand, and it's like good and cathartic for us to talk about this, but to make it less sort of depressing and like we're sort of speaking down on the league, like I find it important to remind myself just how hard it is to like have anything in a sort of sporting or gaming league or tournament. How difficult it is for that to work and how much effort actually goes into it. And the miracle that this works for A, how few volunteers there are, and B, how many players there are, all in different time zones, in different like daily life situations. Like it's kind of miraculous that this works at all. Because if you look at more, quote unquote professional sports, it's like a much more controlled, consistent situation. And there's a lot more people in administrative roles. So everyone in the league, players and administrators, SpyParty Competitive League, should be like proud of themselves and quite happy with the fact that we're able to make this work at all. And we can certainly aim to do better and like have a cleaner job for SCL4. It was certainly like a growing pain. This one sort of I saw having to realize that wow, like Kaylee really did a lot of work on his own back.
He truly did, yeah.
To make it work, and there may have been like particular timely changes in this season with people's work or personal lives or personal health that made things more difficult this season. But it's still wonderful to see that this season happened at all. that this thing happens. It's quite miraculous.
Yeah, there was a worry for a little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, but
and I guess. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, that was it. You were gonna say?
And I think considering the struggle, I'm sort of the thing that it actually happened, and it's good to think because there was a thread that would not for a moment. It just shows how awesome we are because we eventually pulled together either it was someone poking Kaylee that, dude, we need to do this. And then, if you don't have time, let us do this. We'll take some time. And then, both players just, hey, when it's going to happen. So we're so awesome that we still care about it and thus still try to do it. Whether, it will be more difficult, it's, less convenient and what have you. And I guess it's because, like you said, it's miraculous that it still works, even with some flaws. And that's the point. When we see that it works, it's just some flaws, we can see that we can avoid those flaws and make it work fully. And perhaps that being the goal and that being a reasonable goal is why sometimes I get a little bit too much carried away with the things that don't work as perfectly.
But if we don't,
So,
if we don't share and talk about that stuff, then it doesn't change. And so I'm very appreciative that you accepted my very impromptu offer to do this episode. So thank you very much, Catnip, for
no worries.
coming and sharing, for unloading with us.
Venting out. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I do want to see short other things. Thanks, firstly, from all of us, I believe, to Kaylee, to Hummus, to Elvis, to Woder, to all the casters, Chak, Tobo, Hummus again, Steph, Yaren, Noob, who else was commenting this season? G-Man, Slappy. Did I forget anyone? I'm very sorry if I forgot anyone. And thank you for all the players for
playing.
Actually giving your time, and giving your time and effort and love and consideration to this division, because we all and you all together are what makes this so awesome and with so much potential to keep happening.
Yeah, so thank you to everyone.
Yeah.